Hi, it's Anthony from CarPlayLife.com, and in this video I'll be looking at a 4K integrated plug-and-play dashboard camera from FITCAMX. If you're looking for an OEM-like integrated dash cam for your car, FITCAMX is one of the few suppliers of dash cams that piggyback off the power supply of existing sensors in your car, such as adaptive cruise control or a rain sensor, to supply power to their dashboard camera, whilst the discrete design looks as if it came with your car when it was first bought. The install is plug and play and it's very simple to do, and the result is no stick out dash cameras cluttering up your windscreen, no channeling of cables around the car interior, no power connections to the fuse box, and no used up USB ports or 12 volt USB adapters to plug into. In the box you get the FITCAMX camera itself, all pre-built and ready to install, with a 64 gig SD card pre-installed inside. There is a multi-language instruction manual on how to operate the dash cam, and there is also an SD card USB reader and a hard plastic interior removal tool. The version I was supplied for the review is specifically tailored for my Golf Mk7 and its rain sensor for the camera's power supply. FITCAMX has 8,000 dedicated car models covering a majority of common cars in the market, so click my link in the description below to browse their website and see if your vehicle is supported. Basically, if your vehicle has some kind of powered sensor behind your rearview mirror, then it's very likely that you'll be able to install a FITCAMX dash camera. Looking over the dash camera itself, at first sight it can look rather big compared to screen mounted dash cameras, but the actual camera and circuitry components fit in just the front quarter of the entire casing. The rest of the case design is to replace the existing plastic housing that you'll first need to remove in order to attach it to the existing sensor mount for your vehicle. On the left hand side of the dash camera there are two buttons to power the camera on and off, and also to take an instant photo. Underneath these two buttons are two LED status lights to tell you if the camera is recording or if the recording is paused. And finally, underneath these status lights there is a factory reset button. On the right side of the camera's housing there is the SD card slot, which has the bundled 64 gig SD card pre-installed. You can use the bundled SD card reader to playback or transfer save recordings from this SD card, or you can simply connect to the camera's own Wi-Fi hotspot to browse photos and videos via its own app on your connected phone, and select and save any of these videos directly to your camera roll. At the front you will find the camera, which features a f1.6 aperture lens with a wide 170 degree field of view, and there's a 8 megapixel sensor that can capture up to 4K 2160p resolution at 30 frames per second. With wide dynamic range technology, the camera is able to capture much more detail in its video recordings. That makes it more able to read license plates and road signs in low and high light conditions. So that's a quick overview of the dash cam. Let's now head into my Volkswagen Golf and begin the installation. For a helpful guide on installing the specific FITCAMX into your vehicle, I recommend that you check the QR code that's on the instruction manual to view a helpful video on how to install it in your specific vehicle. I found the video very easy to follow, and it made installing the camera much easier and quicker than if I was to follow a paper guide. First, I needed to remove the existing housing that was around my Golf 7's windscreen rain sensor. Using the provided plastic tool, I inserted it into the gaps in the sensor housing and pried open this stock plastic case and slid out the front facing part of the housing. The next part of removing the rear part of the housing was a little more tricky because it required the temporary removal of some interior plastic, and a little bit more brute force was required, as well as some care to not damage any of the attached plastic clips. With the existing rain sensor housing removed, I turned to the camera's own housing case, which first needs to be opened up. Using the same plastic removal tool, I carefully lifted the clips up enough inside the housing, taking good care not to snap them. The two unreachable inner clips nearer to the camera were a little bit more tricky to unclip, but I found by applying some downward pressure onto the outside of the case on one side, I was able to finally take the camera's side housing fully apart. Next, I located the exposed rain sensor cable and disconnected it. Then I connected the camera's own male power cable that was attached to the FITCAMX back into the same female port, and then I connected the original rain sensor connector back onto the remaining female port on the FITCAMX power cable. With both connections done, it was time to attach the camera housing back around the rain sensor mount, making sure the cables were kept inside the housing And to finish, I then clipped the housing back together. By lifting the housing upwards to connect the whole housing back onto the rain sensor mount, this makes the whole camera fit and feel more solid and secure. With the install completed, I powered up the car, which in turn powers up the camera, and turned my attention to my phone. I downloaded the FITCAMX application from the App Store and connected my phone to the camera via the built-in 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi hotspot that was now being transmitted from the dash camera. Connecting to the camera from the app was seamless and fast. Soon I was able to see the camera already powered on and displaying its view in the app. There were 2 buttons below this video feed to pause recording and to take a photo. Whilst on the bottom navigation menu, you can browse the onboard SD card for past recordings and configure the camera's recording output and features in the settings area. In the settings area of the app, you can set the camera to record audio, change photo and video resolutions, adjust exposure compensation, and the sensitivity of detection during a collision for event recording, and also, if it's supported, sensitivity collision whilst parking. Unfortunately, whatever resolution you have the camera set to, I only was able to select no more than 1 minute recordings, whereas I would have preferred 3 to 5 minute recorded clips. The same goes for frame rate. This wasn't adjustable, or you're not even told if you have a lower resolution with a much faster frame rate than the 30 FPS at the highest 2160p setting. Browsing captured video recordings were decent though. Its speed was helped with the shorter clip file size, but at 1 minute length, there are many of them to go through for longer journeys. I didn't see an option to adjust the time on the camera in the app, and unfortunately the timestamps in my first few days of videos in the app were incorrect. But since a recent update for the camera, the date now seems to be correct. Dates on more recent videos have now been corrected. As for camera quality, I found the camera to be fairly decent, especially in daylight recording. I would say it isn't as good as my 70mm A800 Dashcam Pro, but it got quite close in places, and it was also better in certain conditions. The 2160p and 30 frames per second resolution that was advertised was accurate when checking the data of these files from my camera roll. Recording is sharp, with number plates of vehicles in front being clearly readable, as is text on signs that's being passed nearby. I would say the colour in the video came across as a little more saturated for me, but its overall quality looked generally quite natural. Nighttime recording quality was acceptable also, with low light levels of detail being quite good, whilst it did struggle with oncoming lights on the other side of the road, and there was slightly more smearing of lights and street lights when compared to the A800. However, having a camera that does well in both day and night recording can be quite difficult, and is most likely going to be more expensive. The wide dynamic range seemed to cope well though when switching between very light and dark conditions, and transitions between them felt very fast and seamless. So overall, in summary, considering the ease of install, the OEM factory look of the camera, and that it's discreet and hidden away from view, both internally and externally, along with its decent quality capture of video and audio, I've decided to decommission my A800 Dashcam Pro in favour of this FITCAMX dash camera. In comparison, it may not be the best quality, but there are more pros than there are cons with this camera. And I just love how integrated the camera is with my VW interior. It really is like it came out of the factory. I can't commend its makers enough to be able to bring consumers this kind of discreet looking dash camera to a vast spectrum of makes and models that they support. So if you're looking for a factory-like integrated dash cam, then I thoroughly recommend that you start browsing the FITCAMX website for your car make and model. And if your car make and model is listed, then I certainly wouldn't hesitate in pressing that buy button. Alright, thanks for watching, and I hope you found some value in this video. If you have, please leave us a thumbs up and let me know in the comments if you have any questions about this integrated dash cam from FITCAMX. You can check out all my other car tech reviews up in the top left playlist window. Hit that subscribe button and bell not to miss any of my future content. You can send me a super thanks if you would like to help support this channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.